Just goddamn it, Darkon. Just goddamn
Come on, you all know that you like that song. Anyway, what's up, everybody? It is the Dark Conservatarian, and we were just talking about Disturbed's Down with the Sickness, making a little reference to that. But yes, today we are going to be talking about mainly I arranged this stream as a response, a live response to a new YouTuber that I just recently found on a Discord server named Melissa Karlee. Making a response video to a quote LOLbertarian Julie Borowski unquote.
Good God.
And then in other news, of course, after we're done responding to that, we're going to read other news that is somewhat connected to it. Death penalty in Washington, Russia's plans to deter Israeli airstrike, Venezuela's president proposing to meet imperialist quote unquote Trump, and the recent shooting in Crimea, as I have not read about that yet. But anyway, so you guys ready to get down to this?
Sure. Okay.
All right. Screen sharing. And I'll probably have to like take off my headphones here in a bit.
14 likes to 2 dislikes. Wow, her viewers are very biased.
Yeah, I don't think that's a big deal, but anyway. Yeah.
So what were your first impressions of this video? I mean, I take it that you have watched it yourself, S-Man.
Yeah, I did. There were several parts from, like, I get where she's coming from. And then there are several parts from, like, I just couldn't disagree more. And it's like, you know, like several of the issues I would say are ones I would strongly agree with Melissa Karlee on, and then there's just some I would strongly disagree.
Right, and also everybody keep in mind that we do not disagree with everything that Melissa Karlee has to say. It's just the overall message that she is trying to bring about against supposed LOLbertarians. And I do not.
Well, I haven't seen it, so I necessarily wouldn't know.
Okay, and all three of us, yes, are libertarians. And honestly, when I first saw this title, I honestly did not like the fact that she was calling Julie a LOLbertarian, even though that Melissa Karlee says that she is somewhat of a libertarian herself. I mean, you're a libertarian and you're calling other libertarians LOLbertarians. Like, that seems kind of like bad publicity for the overall message of libertarianism. I guess I'm not the utmost third-party libertarian type. I mean, S-Man would be a little bit more of that type. I mean, I'm a conservative libertarian myself, but I don't like this infighting that conservatives, conservatarians, and libertarians would be having with each other with this alienation. Like, for example, Mark Levin alienating Rand Paul, or in this case, Melissa Karlee alienating a fellow libertarian, or somebody who's a little bit more...
yeah, a lot of infighting in the Libertarian Party.
Yeah. It's something they can't afford to have.
Now, obviously, not every libertarian is the same. I mean, you got minarchists, you got...
anarchists.
Anarchists and conservative libertarians, and then you have pseudo-libertarians like Gary Johnson. And, you have...
I don't know what I'd be out of all of those.
I'd probably just pin you as a minarchist, to be completely just
honest. Yeah, actually, I am a minarchist.
Pretty sure you're not a pseudo-libertarian, JJ. I mean,
no, I'm not.
If you ever go ANCAP, JJ, I hope Darkon takes your profile picture and he replaces the blue with yellow or gold.
Right. And make half of it black as well. So anyway, when I first saw this title, I was getting kind of the impression that Melissa Karlee might have actually been a leftist liberal, in all honesty. I mean, calling a libertarian a LOLbertarian, because the only type of people that I've ever heard refer to libertarians as LOLbertarians are leftist liberals that are more for restraining free markets, you know, like Cold of Ham and Secular Hawk, for example. But then actually watching this video, I get the impression more that she is like some fundamentalist Christian conservative smoker mom. But then I saw like another one of her videos, and turns out, oh, she's actually a more or less a conservative libertarian trans woman. So yeah.
Wait, she's trans?
Yeah. I mean, I keep on coming up with these wrong assumptions, but you know what they say about assumptions? They make an ass out of you and me, and so for that, that's my bad. But anyway, enough meandering about. I'm unplugging the headphones. And
If Marxism is the delusion that one can run society purely on altruism and collectivism, then libertarianism is the mere delusion that one can run it purely on selfishness and individualism.
okay, and with that quote right there, I almost thought that might have been a bit of a leftist libertarian right there. I mean, what are your guys' thought on her pulling this quote right here to try and respond to libertarians?
To be completely honest, I thought about this for quite a while. Just like I consistently think about that quote. To be completely honest, I wouldn't agree with it. I would say libertarianism is the idea that society, people can function in society without having to have as much government involvement as we have right now. I never really believed in, even when I was when I was on the left, even when I was like 6 blocks out to the left, despite my horrendous foreign policy views, I was never of the belief that we must have like the idea of massive government reigning over people's lives. Like I was getting to that point, but I was able to pull myself back. What do you guys think?
What I think is that when it is saying selfishness here in the quote, I kind of think back on Milton Friedman's speeches on greed. I don't know if I would like word it that way like Milton Friedman did, but when a person like says greed, they're not saying so much to the extent that you should never help the helpless and the homeless and so forth. Like almost Robert Locke almost seems to be framing it. As far as individualism goes, there's nothing wrong with individualism. Now, yes, I'm not an ANCAP, but I think that from a principled standpoint that anarcho-capitalism would be the utmost moral principle of individualism, where there are no taxes. I mean, even if you're like a minarchist that believes in somewhat of a police force and a military force to protect the rights of the citizens from foreign powers, it's still not the most individualistic because you're still taxing the people in order to protect their own rights against foreign enemies in an organized type of way. I mean, I don't agree with anarcho-capitalism because of the scare of the point that foreign powers can just easily run over all the individualists in Ancapistan. But
Yeah,
you get my point. Metal Minister in the chat says, this is why libertarianism will never be a true power in the U.S. politics. It's too fractured. This is why we can't have nice things, LOL.
yeah, no, he's right.
He is very true.
I mean, it's like these bitter factions. It's kind of like we see it with the two big parties. Like I saw a video from Vox, and it was pretty factually correct about like when you battle over the soul of a party, it can lead to consequences you didn't intend. So if we ever become a major party, then hopefully we can try and avoid that type of situation
And stop all the infighting.
All right.
and yeah.
Sorry, what were you saying?
I just noticed you were muted.
Oh yeah, no, I mute myself just so mostly that there's no reverb because I got my headphones off for the sake of listening to this video. Which, speaking of which, let's continue on, shall we?
Right.
Achtung! The following program is rated right-wing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Is she Russian or something?
No, Achtung is German for attention.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, the program is rated right wing, and let's all keep that in mind as we continue into this video.
Right? Alright, so continue on.
Civic nationalism.
Ugh, Trump.
The music is pretty good, not gonna lie.
Yeah.
But let's all keep in mind the civic nationalist, and let's all keep in mind the rated right wing part. Go ahead.
I mean, I gotta give major props to Melissa Karlee. That is an awesome intro. It's even better than my edited earlier Strike Force intro. You remember that intro, S-Man?
All too well, Darkon. All too well.
I don't know if JJ remembers it, but I do.
Oh yeah, the wait, what? Oh, wasn't it that part from a certain movie? I can't remember.
Yeah, I had multiple clips of different movies as my intro, but then I thought, yeah, I'm just gonna scrap that intro because I have Sweet Madam Blues main guitar solo playing in the background, so I don't want to be like a flag for copyright on any of my videos, so I dropped it and just went with the dark conservatarian intro.
Jesus Christ.
That still will never not be cringy.
Maybe I should work on it better, but anyway. Let's get on to listen to an even cringier voice. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I find Julie Borowski's voice just naturally cringy. Not as cringy as Kyle Kalinske, but with all due respect, man. I know that you're a principled libertarian, but still. Anyway.
A liberals video, so it's only fair that I make a 10 questions for conservatives video.
Strictly speaking, I do not call myself a conservative, as it is a nebulous term with a broad definition that isn't agreed on by anyone.
Well, the thing that I have about conservative, I mean, maybe we should look up the definition. What I understand conservative to be is just somebody who wants to preserve the status quo, you know? I mean, the status quo of the culture that you're living in. Okay, so adjective. Holding to traditional, okay, and this is Google Dictionary, so we are just going to take it with a grain of salt and not with utmost truth. Anyway, conservative, sure. Holding to traditional attitudes and values and cautious about change or innovation, typically in relation to politics or religion. Noun, a person who is averse to change and holds to traditional values and attitudes, typically in relation to politics. So, yeah, by definition, conservative is not necessarily right-wing. In the American sense, it is right-wing, but conservative can, it's relative to the time and place that you live. I made this point to...
Go to the Wikipedia page, too. Just check the definition, too, because usually their definitions could be a little different or the same.
Sorry, I just... I skipped Wikipedia. I mean, no offense, man.
I trust me. Yeah, same.
Of or relating to a philosophy of conservatism, capitalized of or constituting a political party professing the principles of conservatism, such as of or constituting a party of the United Kingdom advocating support of established institutions. All right. Tending or disposed to maintain existing views, conditions, or institutions. Traditional conservative policies, marked by moderation or caution, a conservative estimate. Marked by or relating to traditional norms of taste, elegance, style, or manners. A conservative, pseudo-conservative architectural style of relating to practicing conservative Judaism. All right. And so with that in mind, conservative, the term conservative is relative to the time and place that you live in. And I made this point with Coldepam in my recent one-on-one interview with him, that if me and him were to both move to and live in Sweden, he would be the conservative, essentially, because Sweden already has the policies that he pretty much wants. And I would not be a conservative living in Sweden. I would just be a straight-up libertarian in that case. And I could not, by definition, call myself a conservative, but because I live in America and the overall culture I approve of. And so, therefore, I do call myself a conservative in that sense. So keeping that in mind. What's up, Loudmouth? You ready to respond to a libertarian responding to... or you ready to respond to somebody responding to a libertarian?
Only if they make a response to our response to their response.
But to be completely honest, Darkon, with the issue of defining conservative, if that's her problem, since there's no main definition, it's since there's no agreed upon definition of conservative, who's to say she couldn't come up with her own definition? To be completely honest, I mean, with libertarianism, there's a clear definition. It's almost universally agreed upon. With conservative, there apparently isn't.
Get that out.
What, you think that definition that we just read was too ambiguous or something?
No, I mean, I'm just going off of what she's saying. Since she was saying it was The definition was ambiguous, but
All right. Mental Minister says in the chat, DarkCon wants to be political Batman. Fuck yeah.
oh lord.
But anyway,
Do I look like a cop?
that sounded like Batman if he was a freaking troll, like a literal cave troll.
Oh god.
Okay, shut up. Continue.
However, I do call myself a civic nationalist, or if you'll give me a bit of flexibility, a libertarian nationalist. That said, I divide with the Libertarian Party on a great number of issues, and I think I can make a response to this. This video is made by one Julie Borowski.
Okay, so she's admitting that she is somewhat of a libertarian of a somewhat different caliber than Julie, and she's just pretty much showing up how there's like this infighting. I mean, for one, she calls Julie a LOLbertarian. I mean, I do not know if that's supposed to be a serious insult or just a pot shot in the same.
No shit, it's not a serious insult. Come on.
But she is self-admit. She does say that she is right wing. She is definitely right wing, and I mean, in the very beginning of the video, with the whole quote unquote disclaimer, you know, warning: this program is rated right wing, as if that's supposed to be like, you know, I don't take that seriously. Like, I mean, like, I don't even think she's being serious herself with that whole intro. Like, if she feels like she has to be, then I feel bad for her.
Am I not serious with the intro and gags that I pull? I don't get it.
That I don't know. But let's just continue.
All right.
And as you might be able to tell, she's a LOLbertarian.
Okay, pause. Let's see this shit. Okay. Okay, the Virgin Libertarian. Okay. So this is what apparently legalize all drugs, LOL. Thinks hate speech isn't free speech. Thinks everything is hate speech. Carries miniature EU and UN flags literally everywhere. Nationalism is racist. Is that guy who brings his guitar to every party. Is not a phase mom. Students for Liberty t-shirt. I don't like the state. Then there's a small text I can't even fucking read because it's like that goddamn small.
My gosh, that fucking.
Possibly has never owned or something a hat in his life.
Probably
then
never owned a hat in his life. Yeah, that's what he's.
All right, then versus the Chad Libertarian Nationalist. Good taste in headwear fashion. Free speech.
Everyone's a Chad on the internet.
Free speech absolutist. You have to go back. Enjoys big, beautiful walls. Legal weed, but refrains from smoking from it. From smoking it. Wears anti-communist wife beaters. where we're going, we don't need roads. Loves his country. Oh Jesus Christ. Okay, I know this is a meme, but goddamn, it just
it's
no.
a bad meme.
Oh,
She is seriously trying to like put Julie Borowski under this right here. Well, then I do not see. I don't recall Julie ever saying that she supports the EU or the UN or anything like that.
I think she may have implied even the opposite, if I'm not mistaken. I think even Borowski, I think she did support Donald Trump, who wants to build a big wall with Mexico and have them pay for it all.
I don't recall her stating any support towards him. I mean,
well, at least there was a skit she did, and it sounded. Okay, I'm gonna have to go back and look, but I thought she did support Donald Trump, because at least there was a skit she was doing, and from you know, it sounded kind of serious, but I don't know. I'll go back and look at it, but if I'm wrong, I'll post it in DarkCon's comments section.
It might have, I don't know. It might have just been like a parody or something, because I remember Freedom Tunes. He said specifically that he did not support Trump. But he made like a little skit that was about how anti-Trumpers are unconscionably and unpurposefully campaigning for Trump with the way that they were attacking him. And then at the end of that skit, he says, "Okay, I'm voting for Trump," and it was obviously a parody with the way that he handled it.
Yeah, well, in Julie's video, like. The old lady she was portraying was saying, well, you know, Well, I voted for Trump because of the economy and everything. I don't know. I honestly, I don't know, but it's whatever. Anyway, we're just getting into a rabbit hole here. Let's just continue.
Long live Freedom Tunes.
Yes.
For so-called conservatives, whatever she means by that.
All government departments have wage, fraud, and abuse. Why do some of you treat Pentagon spending like a sacred cow?
Ugh.
I need that shirt, by the way. No step on snack.
Oh Lord, JJ.
Oh, okay.
Oh God. Whoever has their dildo on, vibrate on. Jesus Christ.
S-Man. That sounded like S-Man was putting his mic up against a speaker or something.
No, I wasn't.
I don't know. There was some vibrate. I thought it was coming from you. I don't know.
It definitely wasn't me.
Wasn't me.
Guys, let's try and keep it professional.
It was Cora.
Oh. Anyway, I don't know about you guys.
My
but
dog has been bad.
don't think I heard all that, so let's
All
go.
government departments have wage, fraud, and abuse. Why do some of you treat Pentagon spending like a sacred cow?
Ugh. If you're going to use jump cuts to ask questions, please add just a few moments between clips so it isn't such a huge pain in the ass to edit. Where was I? Oh, right. Cows. It isn't a sacred cow. That is to say, I don't see anyone worshiping it and making a dogmatic religion.
Oh Jesus Christ! You know
God,
what
the
she was
metaphor,
saying.
You fucking idiot.
Yeah, like you fucking know what she meant. I mean, just for fuck's sake, like, goddamn, just don't go down the no
Pedantic as
bullshit
fuck.
path. Like, don't be pedantic about what she's fucking saying.
As far as sacred cows go, I mean, it's not like the establishmentarian Republicans supporting conservatives like literally worship the Pentagon or the military or anything like that. But
Neocons.
well, yeah, a good way to put it.
But,
Just
honestly, is this woman related to Drax from?
What? Couldn't hear you, loudmouth.
I said, is this woman related to Drax from Guardians of the Galaxy?
Oh.
No.
Seems like she is.
But yeah, I mean, you get the point. She's asking specifically to neocons, just to anybody who is like pro-interventionism and pro-higher spending. I mean, I'm not in exactly the same camp as S-Man to where I want to like defund the military more. I mean, am I interpreting your position correct, S-Man?
No, you're interpreting it just right. I would do like I wouldn't necessarily gut the military budget like a fish, although I would definitely be lopping off like parts of it in order to, cut down on the waste that is the military budget.
I feel like at least we should cut it by half.
I'd say 40%, and we'd still function just fine. Like we still would be probably outspending several nations.
Well, actually, I'd say about half for me at least. 40-50%.
My position is to like direct the wasteful spending into like revitalizing the Air Force into a Space Force, or even whatever method is necessary to create that Space Force.
I'd say
I would if I had the ability, I would completely abolish the Space Force, and any money we would get from scaling the military would go into infrastructure and among other things.
I say unless we absolutely need a Space Force, we don't need to spend on it.
Yeah, we have the Air Force and NASA. They could be like a pseudo Space Force.
Yeah.
Like I said, whatever is necessary to get the space fighting capability is my thing. I mean, it doesn't have to specifically be a completely new branch, but that's my thought. I mean, Humane mentioned the point, never mind. I'm not going to get down into that hole, but you get my point. I mean, differing beliefs on how to direct military spending. Some of us believe cut it. Some of us believe keep it as is, but just redirect the waste to somewhere else. But then there are some of those who say increase it more, maybe even to the point to get it to the ability so that we can full on invade Syria or North Korea or something along those lines. It's those types of conservatives that she is directing the message to, and you're just you know what
she's saying
earlier, getting pedantic. So anyway,
I kid. I was being purposefully pedantic to your rhetoric.
Okay.
Well, it was still just fucking. It's why?
It was a waste of time.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So why do
Just
I
wants Drax's phone number.
Okay.
into the military is a good thing? Because I want the United States
Okay.
to maintain to your rhetoric. So why do I think spending money into the military is a good thing? Because I want the United States to maintain military hegemony. That's why.
Okay. Let me just so we're clear on the record. Let me go to that definition hegemony.
Never heard of it.
Basically, it means that you're basically the top global superpower.
Yeah, that's what it means.
Top.
Yeah, it's the political, economic, or military predominance or control of one state over others. And I of course, disagree with that being the case. I do honestly think. Oh, fuck off, Brandon. After I saw it in the chat, but no, I disagree with the idea of the United States maintaining a hegemony over anybody, as I don't think that any country should have the right to be able to dominate other nations. I don't like the idea of any country being able to rule or dictate over others. I don't think it's going to be peaceful. I think it will lead to human rights abuses. I mean, our presidents are largely guilty of human rights abuses to begin with. You could go from, and have backed human rights abuses in other countries, all the way from like Eisenhower to present.
Yeah, we don't need to be the top dog. We just need a good enough military to protect our citizens.
Yeah, I think even if we were to do what me and Crusader have proposed on the military, we'd still be easy. We would still decisively defeat a lot of nations on the planet.
We'd be a top 5 army in the world.
To be honest, though, there's of course, other powers that are much greater than ours that they like. All right, we're not like our military power isn't together.
And, Brandon mentioned Cult of Ham. Speaking of, Cult of Ham mentioned the whole rule of two thing about the military. Okay.
Fuck you, Brandon. I was fucking with you, bro.
Oh my god.
Seriously, that reverb. What the fuck?
I muted myself, so I don't think it was me. Did the reverb go away or something as soon as I muted myself?
Yeah.
For the most part.
All right. Anyway.
Me who is causing the reverb? I don't know. Anyway, so yeah. I mean, you can. I guess I can see the nuanced difference between being the top dog militarily, but not necessarily having hegemony to the point that you can actually influence and, say, occupy foreign nations. I mean, I want our military to be strong enough so that we can, like, stave off a war on two fronts against the next two most powerful nations, but not so much to the point that we can, like, occupy multiple nations all at the same time, or retain a massive influence in other countries. But anyway, moving on.
This will become increasingly important as China is set to become the economic world superpower by 2030.
I don't see as to how increasing military spending or keeping military spending high, whatever position it is exactly that you support, will help out our economy versus the Chinese economy. I mean, what do you guys think?
I think that, if Melissa here is so worried about the United States economy being overtaken by 2030 by China, I think there should be just some certain things done that don't involve the military to strengthen or revitalize the economy. I think that, if we undo a lot of the plans Trump is doing to the economy, like tariffs, I think we definitely maintain, we'd be the largest economy on the planet. I think that it's really not the issue of the military. Well, I mean, it is the issue of the military. I just think it's the waste that goes into it. I think if we
United States has 5% of the Earth's population, and their economy is about 25% of the Earth's total resources. So, if you think about it, yes, the United States still economic hegemony, regardless of the military.
Mm-hmm.
And,
I go ahead.
To address another point, there is a point to be made that if you increase military spending for producing more tools of war, that will create jobs for people to manufacture those tools of war. But at the same time, there are ways to like revitalize your economy in non-public sector matters. You know?
Yeah, I think that if we retrain those people, because I was getting into arguments with Vanguard and Hawk on this about like the war machine, the military-industrial complex Eisenhower warned us about. And I borrowed this point when it came to trade, which Melissa here mentions trade later on. You know, we could retrain those workers to the point of where if their jobs are harmed, where they lose their jobs from the military, you know, the military industrial complex, they could find jobs in the private sector rather than the public one.
Mm-hmm.
All right, continuing on.
12 years is not a long way away.
You praise freedom, which is great, but shouldn't people have the freedom to smoke marijuana in their own homes?
Yeah, as long as you aren't harming other people, infringing on other people's rights, or costing anyone any money, I don't give a shit what you do.
I agree.
Want to and fuck your life up? Be my guest. I won't stop you. Just don't ask me to fund your habit, your recovery, your health care, or your funeral expenses should that come to pass.
Okay.
That I fully agree with. I know this might make me sound to be a little insensitive, but I wholeheartedly agree.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with what she's saying, but the way that she stated that, she was stating that as if implying to think that that was Julie's position or something. I mean,
well, yeah,
that she was responding to. I mean, neither does Julie, as far as I know, think that we should like publicly fund for people's rehabilitation from meth and other drugs and such.
Yeah, like that, of course.
Who is she responding to? Is she responding to a liberal leftist or another libertarian? I'm confused. That's me being sarcastic, by the way, but yeah.
Yeah, I know.
You make fun of liberals for being easily outraged. Is the NFL national anthem anything such a big deal?
I mean, I don't speak for everyone, but I honestly don't care that much about Colin Kaepernick. But from what I hear from most people is that they don't want to hear about oppression from privileged millionaires. To that end, I can't say I disagree with them. There's also a sentiment that these leftist dipshits seem to, and in the case of Kaepernick, begrudge the United States. That's fucking fine. They are free to pack their shit and leave. I doubt they will, though, and not that anyone would bemoan their departure should they grow the fucking spine and follow through.
I mean, I do think that if there is a certain hate that big celebrities, I mean, if you're an average Joe, it's a different story. But if you're like a big celebrity with millions of dollars and you hate this country, well, then you damn well have the ability to move out. Just as Colin Kaepernick has expressed that he does not like the United States, and because he said that he will not stand for a flag that represents a country that is for police brutality. I cannot remember the exact quote, but you know.
It was something stupid. I'm just going to say this.
Yeah, and he's made millions of dollars, so if he hates this country so much, then fucking leave.
Yeah,
to the mic to Westman, because I know he has a lot to say about the whole Kaepernick.
This is shit I hear all the time, and I was really getting tired of this shit. You know, when I was growing up as a kid, and this what Melissa here is describing is very similar. You got the issue of, you know, people in the neighborhood I grew up in who are not from the United States, yet they'd shit on this country. And they'd be like, oh, Mexico's so great. It's like, in the back of my head, I'm thinking, like, get the fuck out. And you got to also look at the issue of, if you're so rich and everything and you choose not to leave, then you're a fucking spineless cuck. And also you got to think about the people who can't leave. So you're going to just leave and, you know, you're not going to fight to make a difference. You're just going to fucking leave because, you know, just a virtue signal about how great you are for standing up against the evil police force that, you know, it's just dumb shit. And it's just so, like, laughable. Like, that people can take this horse shit seriously. You know, this whole Colin Kaepernick bullshit, if he wants to kneel or whatever, he has the right to do so.
He's not in the NFL anymore, so.
I just think the guy's a sanctimonious asshole, basically.
I think the people he worked for would have the right to fucking fire his dumb ass.
They would, yes. That's the thing. It's free speech either way. Well, all right, absolutely. Him kneeling is absolutely free speech, but at the same time, if a proxy war wants to fire him for that, they would absolutely have the right to do so, and doing so would not violate his constitutional rights. But personally, I wouldn't be cheering them on to do so, but I really wouldn't give a shit if they did. But
yeah,
just as a personal opinion, I just think the guy is incredibly sanctimonious. He comes across like the kind of narcissistic dickweed who goes home. And
he is a narcissistic prick.
Yeah, he goes home and smells his own farts every night.
Jesus Christ.
Okay, there's 2 points that I want to make on that. One, I am absolutely certain that not everybody that kneels before the flag and during the anthem and just in an implied disrespect to the flag, that they don't outright hate the United States. I mean, unless they outright say that their motive is for in a sort of distaste and maybe even outright hate of the United States. As
It kind of is, though. I mean, that they are absolutely doing it to be offensive towards patriotic symbols.
They also ought to know that, you know.
I also want to make a point that this issue kind of works always. You have the right and ability to criticize these NFL protesters if you want to. They have the right and ability to go ahead and protest the flag if they want to, and the NFL has the right and the ability to fire them if they want to. It works all ways, just FYI to all sides.
And I'd also like to point out that, you know, if you have to explain what your protest is about, it is garbage from the get-go. The fact that Colin Kaepernick had to explain what his quote-unquote protest was about shows how laughably bad and a substance it is.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so continuing on, because we still got 6 minutes more.
Okay.
Give too much power to the government?
No. Most executions are meted out by the states. Moreover, one of the functions of government is to enforce laws and met out justice. In the case of egregious crimes, seek out the death penalty. You can make out the argument that this is not justice, and that's fine, but this wasn't the question asked.
All right,
okay.
So I'm pretty sure that most people on this podcast can agree with that, at least. Myself, S-Man, definitely, maybe JJ, but I know that Loudmouth has some contentions about the death penalty, so...
He's against it.
I am against it because I fear the possibility of innocent people being convicted. I've seen the justice system make too many horrific mistakes, convict too many innocent people, that I can't support the death penalty as a possibility in the slightest. If I was 100% certain that everyone convicted was guilty, then I would have zero problem with the death penalty.
Yeah.
I have a question. Do you have an exact stat for how many innocent people get convicted and have the death penalty like officially carried out on them?
It's a very small number, but the risk we're taking.
All right. I mean, I thought I remember it being like something 10 or even under that percent of people who are...
That we know. How many people who are in prison right now probably is that they were convicted of? I mean, look at the Me Too movement. People who clearly don't have a fucking clue how due process works and clearly want people convicted willy-nilly. It's quite possible that a lot of juries take that kind of idiotic mindset to heart and have unfairly convicted innocent people throughout this country.
Then those people should be punished if it turns out that they are indeed innocent.
As it turns out, perjury resulting in the execution of an innocent person is punishable by death, and I find that to be really ironic. But I will say this with capital punishment. I mean, people have heard my stance, and I've held the same position for about over 6 years now. That it's like even with the issues of innocence and everything, I think reforms can be made to the criminal justice system, you know, to fix the problems at hand. And I think at some point we should be doing like commuting a number of sentences. If you've been on there for so long, there's no point in keeping you on death row. Let's just commute your sentence to life without possibility of parole.
I mean, here's my thoughts on it. I mean, considering of how low the stat is on a moral sense, at least, I think that the death penalty overall does its job. And for the small percentage of people who are innocent, I think that we should like handle them on a subjective basis. Make sure to try that we do not like convict the wrong people for a crime and handle out the death penalty to them. I mean, because I mean, on a moral stance, it doesn't mean that I think that we should like completely give up on the death penalty. Like, you got all these shooters, like the Parkland shooter, the Texas shooter, the Sandy Hook shooter. I mean, if he was like caught alive, except he killed his own ass. Yeah, I know he killed his own ass, like in the midst of that shooting. But still,
what a pussy.
If he was to like catch him alive, though, I think that all those people like deserve the death penalty for their mass death.
I wholeheartedly agree. I think the guy with the
Same.
Stoneman Douglas issue, I think he should be executed in the electric chair. I think the guy in Texas ought to be executed. I personally think that if if there's irrefutable evidence you did something, like if there's irrefutable evidence you committed a capital offense, then yeah, you just should be executed.
I mean, what's more expensive, the electric chair or a 9mm round in the temple?
I have to
I'd
agree
say-
with the firing squads.
We Utah uses the firing squads. They're pretty effective.
And plus, with the way they do it is ingenious. All you do is just have a bunch of people, like everybody but one person has blanks.
Yeah, it's so y'all know, like, there's a 20% chance you may have just shot some fucker in the chest. But yeah.
And they blindfold you too.
Oh, rope is reusable. Guess who we have in the chat? It's Melissa Karlee herself.
Hello,
Oh.
Melissa. Hello there.
I did not expect her to be here.
Well,
Anyway, let's continue on the video.
So yeah,
Wait, what?
I did name this stream after her. So yeah, I mean, I have her name in the title, response to Melissa Karlee on libertarianism. But
Well,
yeah,
nice.
I mean,
Awesome if you could in the middle of doing a response to someone's video, if you could invite them on the stream. Is that possible?
I think that would actually be a good idea, to be honest.
That would be awesome, actually. Do that.
Mm-hmm.
Do it. Do it.
I mean, we sort of did it back with She Who Shall Not Be Named.
Yeah. Well, she didn't actually come on, but
Well,
she
the
was in the
next
chat.
time we streamed, yeah.
Let me find.
continuing on.
The government has
Yeah.
800 military bases around the world. If you want to reduce
And that's fine. But this wasn't the question asked.
the U.S. government has 800 military bases around the world. If you want to reduce the federal government, shouldn't that also include reducing military bases?
800 military bases. This is a little factoid which is always stated and never quantified. I mean, San Diego, California has several military installations in it, but they are, for the most part, interconnected. Does this count as one or several bases? In any event, military installations are beset in the world the way they are for strategic and logistical reasons. If you have a job that is 2 hours away, is it more cost effective to make the 4-hour round trip or relocate to the new job? The United States, among others, is separated by both the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. In order to effectively perform global operations, it is cost effective to have military bases throughout it to respond to global events quickly and effectively.
I mean, this is a point that I actually agree with. Is strategic.
I couldn't disagree with it either.
But here's the thing. We do not need military bases in, say, countries that are not our allies. I mean, I think if we need, bases for strategic advantage to, quickly mobilize our troops more effectively rather than relying completely on our own allies, well, then we have our own bases set up in allies nations. But a place like, say, Iraq, for example, I don't think we need to, maintain a long-term presence there and have a base there, or Afghanistan or other places that seem kind of irrelevant to have a base there. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I also think
I have to agree.
I also think in terms of of these bases, it's to me a big factor is if they truly want the base there. We wouldn't like it if Russia had a base in Texas or if China had a base in Pennsylvania.
It has to be mutual agreement as well to have a base in there. I don't know of any country that completely disagrees with us having a base. At least I can't name any off the top of my head anyways at the moment. But a place like, say, Germany, France, South Korea, all our allies, I think that they would be open to us having a base there. And so we shall have a base there.
I mean, in
A place like China or Russia or anyone like that. I mean, it's very unlikely, but still, any of those nations was to declare war on us, we can easily mobilize and hit them first.
I mean, also an interesting thing is the base that's near me. That's the Air Force Base Shepherd. Not only do they have our troops, of course, but they also have troops from other countries and even from the fucking Saudis.
But I don't think that there is massive disagreement with this statement right here. I mean, I think what Julie Borowski is trying to get to is like primarily the most unnecessary bases. Like, I don't think we have any. Well, no, of course we don't have any bases in Iraq these days. Ever since Obama pulled out and left the power vacuum for ISIS, but still, a place like that or Afghanistan and so forth. I think that she might be referring to that. I mean, if she is referring to even our own allies' countries, well, then that where I would have contention with her. But on places that aren't our allies, I don't have a contention with her on that. All right.
Yeah.
So anyway, continuing.
Edward Snowden revealed that the U.S. government is unconstitutionally spying on us. How exactly is he a traitor? Traitor to who? And yes, he did try to go through the proper channels many times.
Edward Snowden is called a traitor because he violated the Espionage Act of 1917.
Okay, that seems to almost be like a sort of an appeal to law type of circumstance right there.
Yeah, like I mean, just because it's the law does not mean it's right. Like, imagine if there was some act passed against freedom of speech or against the right for you to practice your religion. You can say that person broke the law, but that doesn't mean the law itself is right.
I mean, this is not to say that Edward Snowden is not technically a criminal, but at the same time, for all of us libertarians, we still consider him like, in a moral stance, not really a criminal, and to be more of a moral than an immoral man.
I mean, exposing the government for unconstitutionally spying on people and eroding their Fourth Amendment rights, I don't see as traitorous as being a traitor or treasonous.
NSA, are you listening to us? Fuck you.
Hey, NSA people, if you're going to spy on us, you could at least follow my Twitter. I mean, come on.
Hi, NSA people, if you're seeing me through my camera, here's a little present for you. I flipped off my finger. I flipped them off.
Okay, yeah. I thought you were going to turn on your camera for a second there, but I guess not.
Nah.
Anyway,
waste of time.
I think she had a second point to make on this point of Julie's, but anyway.
Because he violated the Espionage Act of 1917. Whether or not you agree with that law or charge is an entirely different matter. I'm of the opinion that Snowden didn't do nothing.
You can still...
Okay, then...
I mean, I don't know. What does that sound like to you guys? Almost a point of agreement towards Snowden from her? I don't know.
I would like it, but I don't know.
Like the Snowden did nothing wrong thing, then yeah, I mean, that would sound like it.
I mean, unless she's saying that Edward did nothing as in Edward did nothing productive, well then, if the latter is what she's trying to imply, well then that's bullcrap. But yeah. So.
Respect police while calling out examples of police brutality when you can still respect police while calling out examples of police brutality when it happens, no?
Yeah, but the...
Yeah, and for example, the shooting of Philando Castile. I mean, Officer Yanez, I thought, was totally in the wrong with that circumstance.
Yeah, I can name at least one, or I can name two off the top of my head, examples of police brutality where it's like, no, those cops were totally in the wrong. Eric Garner and Freddie Gray.
Yeah.
I would have to look more into those, but just Philando Castile, I looked more deeply into, and Philando Castile himself was not handling the situation too smartly himself, but Yanez was too spineless and trigger happy, I thought, and just not enough skin in the game to be able to handle the job. So yeah, I mean, that is a case where he at least did get fired. Do I think he should like full on end up in jail? Well, actually, no. I would say that he probably does deserve to be jailed for manslaughter. I would not so far to say what he did was outright murder, but still. He probably should serve some time in jail, but hey, at least the police force was not willing to keep him on the force.
I'd say about 5 years would be fine for him.
All right.
5 to 15. Anyway, let's continue.
Yes.
The problem is the left likes to create bullshit narratives like hands up, don't shoot, and supremacist movements like Black Lives Matter based entirely on isolated incidents.
Likewise,
Okay.
No, I agree. No, I agree.
Yeah.
That is very true.
Black Lives Matter.
I agree with that opinion.
Black Lives Matter is a black supremacist group. They are a domestic terrorist group. So is Antifa. And honestly, people who say that they are not are they are just disingenuous and dishonest.
And they're wrong.
New Jersey declaring Antifa a terrorist group was fucking correct.
Thank you.
Right? All right.
Likewise, can't you respect the military and oppose the wars? As you know, Washington politicians often do not have our best interests in mind.
No, they have the best interests of the nation in mind.
What?
No,
A bit of an
what?
overly broad generalization of positivity towards politicians, I think.
No. Sometimes they have the best interests of their donors, of the people that back them. I'm sorry. I find it hard to believe with some politicians. You're like my congressman Rob Bishop, who's been in there since I was a little kid. Oh, Washington hasn't changed me. The only thing that's changed me is I lost 70 pounds but gained 10 of them back. It's like, no, buddy, you lost those 70 pounds and gained 10 of them back. But also, it's also the fact that, no, Washington did change you. You're a fucking corporate shill. Like, seriously, I think even Ocasio-Cortez, she's not going to be able to avoid being changed by Washington.
Ocasio-Cortez is just a cunt in general.
She'll become a corporate Democrat and be hated by the TYT crowd herself before long.
Damn right, motherfucker. But
Yep.
yeah, it's just I'm sorry. Like, that sounds way too positive to the goddamn politicians.
Yeah, I mean,
from
you
her.
can like subjectively point out individual politicians, Miss
Maybe.
Karlee, that do actually care for the nation, but that's an overly broad positive generalization when the generalization for politicians is that they're all hacks, they're all liars, generally speaking at least, and just plain out untrustworthy.
Just don't trust government.
Yes.
You are talking about the global war on terror. Probably. And I have no issue carpet bombing anyone who has so much as sends an errant fart in our direction.
Okay, so I try not to apply labels to people, but this sounds like a fucking neoconservative ideal on foreign policy. And I used to be in that camp on foreign affairs. I think that, you know, someone simply threatening the United States, they shouldn't be carpet bombed or whatever. I think that, you know, if you're going to make threats, and the police should be sent after you, but to fucking obliterate them from existence, I think is just a tad extreme.
Just a little.
Just like a little bit, and I'm holding like my arms like as far apart as possible. Just a little extreme. Like that's just ridiculous. Like, you know, like if there's actual proof of weapons of mass destruction, then at that point I'd say, yeah, let's intervene. But like, you know, W couldn't prove that they had weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. So and there's a lot of issues with the war in Iraq in general, but generally speaking, they had no proof that there were weapons of mass destruction.
Honestly, the United States with the military on many of those things, they were just way too trigger happy.
They were way too hawkish, and I mean, they were expensive wars. They're unconstitutional wars. I mean, a lot of wars since World War II have been unconstitutionally fought, as they didn't officially declare war on those nations.
Yeah, we lost too many good soldiers.
There was no evidence before the Iraq war. I don't think, anyways, like no hard evidence that people knew of, anyways, to like support the Iraqi war. But what I recall from hearing from a news article is that the uranium plant that was formerly owned by Saddam Hussein was like found in 2006 or something like that. As far as the rhetoric that Melissa is stating, I mean, this is the part where she gets overly preachy, I think. So let's just enjoy the preachiness.
Okay.
No issue carpet bombing anyone who has so much as sends an errant fart in our direction. What should we do, Libertarian? Put up with aggression until the enemy is at our gates? I want to know when, according to Libertarians, is the right time to go crush an apparent enemy.
When there's actual evidence of a threat.
Yes.
Like not just hot rhetoric from, like, you know, Kim Jong-un, who doesn't have the balls to actually do anything, but an actual threat where there's hard evidence that there's a threat apparent. Then at that point, if you want to carpet bomb them, go the fuck ahead.
Fucking napalm their ass for all we care.
Go Harry Truman on them. 2 nukes weren't enough.
I can't remember the point that I was trying to make. Damn it.
Oof.
Sorry, I'm going to rewind just a little bit again.
And I have no issue carpet bombing anyone who has so much as sends an errant fart in our direction. What should we do, Libertarian? Put up aggression until the enemy's at our gates?
Okay, yeah, now I remember what I was wanting to say. I mean, if you had not asked that in question context, I would have said that that was a bit of a straw man towards Julie. But yeah, I mean, I don't think that Julie is like for letting a bunch of San Bernardino attacks or Paris-style attacks or Orlando shootings happen again and again in the United States and do nothing about ISIS, for example. Sorry, what was you about to say, Loudmouth?
So Aaron fart in our directions.
Oh, Jesus Christ, Loudmouth.
Yeah, it was a joke I was making.
Yeah, quit doing raspberries, Loudmouth. Come on.
Oh, Lord.
Everybody
It's
likes
not
a
a real,
raspberry.
it's not a real fart. It was just.
Anyway.
I want to know when, according to libertarians, is the right time to go crush an apparent enemy.
When they have an actual attack on our soil that is directly connected to them.
Yeah.
That's my answer to that.
Okay, so Melissa Karlee said they found over 5,000 chemical weapons in Iraq. Can't link.
Okay, well, I mean, the United States does supply weapons to people. So did it have made in USA on them? And I'm somewhat joking, but if so, then I wouldn't be surprised. That we fund a terrorist group to get rid of a terrorist group that we funded to get rid of a terrorist group. That you know how that goes.
We fucked up everything. In other words.
Well, okay, so Melissa, you can go ahead and I'm in the Discord server that Xiaomi set up, and so you can link it in one of the servers or something. I can click on the link, and then I'll send it to S-Man. So,
all right.
Yeah, she has no Twitter.
Her Twitter got holocausted along with Crusaders.
Yeah. That's what I was trying to say there, is that she says that she doesn't have Twitter available at her own disposal. But
Twitter, please forgive me. I want to be back.
I mean, as long as it's not a Fox News or Breitbart article, just saying, Melissa. Anyway.
Free trade is a capitalist idea. Benefits include increased growth, innovation, and standard of living. Was capitalist icon Adam Smith wrong?
Yeah, especially when you are running trade deficits in the billions and entire industries have been wiped out. Nationalism is about self-sufficiency. And right now, as a nation, we are not self-sufficient.
Okay, well, I got a question. Does the right, I use the word right in quotes, by the way, does the right of the collective overrule the rights of the individual? Because what you are basically implying here is that, well, I do not know fully if Melissa supports all these tariffs that Trump imposes or any kind of protectionism, but that is basically the oppression of, well, oppression seems like too strong of a word, but the punishment of individuals' business rights for the sake of the overall economy. And even then, tariffs, I mean, I did a full episode of Strike Force on Trump's tariffs. There was a Forbes magazine article that was talking about of how it's basically plutocracy. So in principle, I'm against it on a private property aspect, on an anti-plutocracy, or in other words, anti-corporatism stance, in that it just props up failing businesses.
Yeah, and with trade deficits, I don't what do you want to do, Melissa, to offset a trade deficit? Just so everyone gets a definition of what a trade deficit is: the amount by which the cost of a country's imports exceeds the value of its exports. With my issue on trade, I want it to be free and fair. Their market should be just as open as ours. So so that it's as fair as you can get. I'm not convinced tariffs work. At this point, I am just about convinced that tariffs lead to nothing but trade wars and retaliatory tariffs that defeat the purpose of the original tariff to begin with.
And plus,
go on, JJ.
I'm not trying to be a dick or I guess trying to strawman her, but with the thing that you said about does the rights of the collective overrule the rights of the individual? The thing is, especially in North Korea, that they have that ruling where the rights of the collective overrules the rights of the individual, as compared to the United States. On the West, in the West, we have the rights of the individual. So, yeah.
And in extension of that Forbes article that I mentioned, it just locks in the money that could be like dispersed throughout the rest of the economy, used in new hands. It just locks that money into old and failing businesses that have to be propped up by the government. And also, she calls herself a civic or a civic nationalist or a libertarian nationalist. I mean, it's not exactly pro-liberty for you to be. I mean, assuming that she is for tariffs and
protectionism.
That would punish people for doing business overseas, for daring to do business overseas. That's not exactly a pro-liberty stance. I mean,
yeah,
same way that Trump wants tariffs.
Nationalism is not the way. It really isn't.
Yeah, and she's about to get when she's about to go a little further into trade in this video, and I'm gonna bring up a little question, and when we get there, so let's continue.
All right.
I mean, there's a side note. There's nothing wrong with nationalism, in my opinion, as long as it's not oppressing the rights of the individuals within your country. And in this case, imposing tariffs, that would be oppressing the rights of the individual business owner from doing business overseas. Anyway.
That's a problem. A problem created by free trade.
All right, let's pause.
Wait, what?
Sorry, that is a problem imposed by free trade. I mean, she's trying to like frame free trade as a bad thing, but yet, anyway, go on.
So this part really stumped me, because if she's considering herself libertarian-esque or right-wing,
and yet she's against free trade.
So for those like a definition, I probably shouldn't use definitions, but this is just how people define it. Free trade is a trade policy that does not restrict imports or exports. It is the idea of the free market as applied to international trade. You know, in government, free trade is predominantly advocated by political parties that hold right-wing or liberal economic positions, while economically left-wing political parties generally support protectionism, the opposite of free trade. So yeah, free trade is the free market approach to trade, and usually people on the right wing, or people that would be considered quote unquote conservative, usually they say they support free markets, and the GOP claims to support it too. Although, I mean, with what they're doing right now, it proves they do not support free markets at all. That's why I don't like the Republican Party. They don't support free markets like they say they do, and free trade, like I said, is the free market approach to international trade.
But funny thing is, she's against free trade, but yet she considers herself a libertarian nationalist, which is very ironic.
I mean, it makes her. I would say it could most likely align her with nationalism a little more to be against free trade, but it doesn't. It would weaken her libertarian bent.
I just think it's very ironic.
Just a side note here. I mean, if we were to go off of the dichotomy that the more free market, the more. Okay, I do not know who that was. I heard the buzz again.
Okay, so Melissa Karlee said in the chat, free trade is an internationalist policy.
Well, the definition I got said it was a free market approach to trade, but I'm not disagreeing with it, with what you said.
I mean, ultimately, it may be internationalist in that it allows people to conduct business internationally, but it doesn't necessarily prop up an agenda that we all must be of one nation. The thing with free trade is that it would give people the ability to either strictly do business in the country or do business in other countries if they want to. But protectionism, that is saying, no, you cannot do business internationally. You can only do business, or you should only do business nationally and locally, which that is pretty anti-liberty and thus anti-libertarian in my perspective of things. And as I was saying, like if we're going off of the dichotomy that the more and more pro-free market and pro-economic liberty you are, the more and more right-leaning you are, and the more for protectionism, higher and higher taxes, more welfare, and just oppressing people's economic liberties, the more left-leaning you are. That means that Julie Borowski is more right-leaning than Melissa in this circumstance. And she says in the chat, all internationalist policies are crony capitalist policies and delegitimizes delegitimates. And never mind. I thought I saw a ZES. Our steel industry was wiped out by foreign steel being dumped into our economy, and thus manufacturing jobs were replaced with shit service industry jobs. How's that a justification of how it is still pro-liberty? I mean, I don't get it. I mean, it still seems like you are for the rights of the collective over the rights of the individual to do whatever. Okay, I guess. Oh, right. I almost forgot he had like a notification or call sound that was.
That's my ringtone. Sorry.
Nice.
Anyway, to be completely honest with the issue of the steel industry, it's like it says a lot. Like if people are willing to prefer cheaper foreign steel to American-made steel that's a little more expensive, then the price, then maybe that should convince the people selling the American steel to lower their prices.
Yeah, to have a better output.
Yeah, and
we have like another discussions panel edition of Strike Force talking about free trade and other economics, and inviting on Melissa Karlee onto the program to this, you know?
Yeah, because you know, her type of a faceless corporation isn't an individual, so let's quit pretending the convenience store owners are the ones massively benefiting from free trade.
Okay,
What?
but there is an individual that owns that corporation, though. Well, I mean, whatever like boards there are to help determine the decisions of the corporation, there is still like ultimately an individual owner.
And she said it's the crony capitalists that benefit from free trade and immigration.
I mean, I don't know what you're getting on with that. I mean, crony capitalism would be the government rigging the game for one economic competitor against other economic competitors. And if you are like wanting the government to like impose these individual tariffs on different businesses, well, then that would be where the crony capitalism is at. But shall we continue, guys, or was there something else that you want to say?
Now let's continue.
Now let's continue.
Otherwise, we're going to be here all day. Yes.
We're getting stuck on the issue of trade when we need to get to the other problems here.
Right.
Yeah.
Scam. Because while we're by free trade, the fucking scam. Because while we're playing by the rules, other countries are manipulating currency and charging tariffs on our products. Why
Pause.
would we not charge it?
Sorry.
Okay, so with the issue of people not playing by the rules, I mean, like that's what I'm saying. It's like with trade, I want it to be free but fair. And if they're not going to play fair, we should stop trading with them, or we should you know, we should find a way to be retaliatory without having to use tariffs. Like, I mean, at least me personally, I try to buy as many American-made products over foreign products as humanly possible. There are times I have to make concessions, but other than that, I would encourage everybody. You know, if you're able to buy products made from your country over foreign goods, I would personally recommend that. That way, it's like, you know, I'm not imposing protectionist policies on people. Foreign governments, foreign governments already manipulate the game.
Okay.
Well, I mean, who's to say we can't manipulate the game in a more fair direction?
Yeah.
Also,
whatever. I'm not exactly an economist, but whatever method you want to use, I'm all for it, just as long as it does not infringe on the liberties of people within the country. Like, for example, punishing them for daring one to like trade or build a plant in China or India or something like that. But anyway.
Yeah, and find a way to make domestic goods cheaper than foreign goods. And you know the most ironic thing with conservatives and especially Trump supporters, they say they're for minimal taxes. Yeah, guess what tariffs are? Taxes.
I know, that's the main thing.
It's ironic.
Are just massive hypocrites. And if you confront them on that BS, they will never they'll try to walk back and be like, oh, we only support freedom within our own borders. That ain't freedom, asshole. All right.
Yeah.
Freedom's
like
freedom.
Capitalism is an international thing. And hell, if space aliens landed here tomorrow, I'd be wanting free trade with them.
Yeah.
Unless they're trying to kill us, then maybe.
Unless they're trying to kill us, yes.
The only thing we
Well,
trade
let's
with them at
say
that point
Space
is bullets.
Marines arrived tomorrow and wanted to open a free trade. I'd be say, okay, cool, we'll trade.
Yeah.
All right. So, moving on.
The tariff on their exports if they're putting a tariff on our exports.
Okay. Now I will admit, on the issue of like if they're putting tariffs on us first, then I can see the reasoning behind wanting to do a retaliatory tariff in that case.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I mean, my problem is it's like if we do it first, it's like then it's going to be a trade war, a retaliatory tariff. It's going to be a battle of whose tariff is the biggest, and it's just a waste of time, and it defeats the purpose of tariffs to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Some of you oppose gay marriage due to religious beliefs. I don't think I'm going to change your mind there, but why not push to remove the government from marriage?
What?
Totally agree. And I can't remember exactly what Melissa said in response to that, but I think, if I recall correctly, she was all for allowing sexual liberties.
One, you could change people's religious views via argumentation.
Well, yeah.
I could. 1 second.
Wait, what?
She said you can change people's religious views by argumentation.
I heard that part.
And in other news, I can kill somebody with a gun. I'm sorry.
Darkon's gonna go on a shooting spree.
And in other news, I ate a fucking sandwich.
Was it made by a woman? Then you're very sexist.
Yes.
Yes, made by his mom.
Okay, yeah, shut up, you.
The only woman you can trust.
Women have no right.
Anyway.
And you could change people's religious views via argumentation. 2, I'm an anti-theist. 3, marriage as it stands.
Anti-theist and the two atheists in this. No, I'm not gonna go there.
No,
wait,
I sympathize with anti-theists, but I don't define myself as an anti-theist.
You're just an atheist.
Here's the thing that I have with the term anti-theist. Like, what does it imply? Like, I almost thought originally for a while that anti-theist meant like somebody who opposes religious liberties. Just, I don't know.
I still consider.
Maybe
I still see it that way, but that's just because I've had experiences with that.
Now, that would be the most extreme of anti-theism. Whereas Cold of Ham says that he's an anti-theist, but he's expressed multiple times and doesn't mind if somebody like teaches religion outside of the public sector, like outside of school.
Well, yeah, I forgot about that part. Never mind.
And so forth. So, anyway.
Stands today a gynocentric institution.
Oh my God.
Legal institution by which.
What was it going to say?
Marriage, as it stands today, is a gynocentric institution. 4, marriage is a legal institution by which estates can be transferred along with other civil rights effectively. It efficiently allows two people to combine all legal and monetary assets between them or their progeny. To remove all governmental functions in marriage would literally undermine almost all laws regarding this. While this might be an end goal for libertarians of the world, with any critical thought, this becomes an untenable proposition. If two men are partners but not married, does one partner get the civil right when to decide to pull the plug in the case of brain death of the other partner? Or, if they have children and are not married, who decides how that estate is divided up? Doing this through normal conflict is very difficult, if not impossible.
I mean, I don't necessarily...
If I may say something.
Okay.
Okay, so they said who would get, who would take custody of the children. The thing is, especially if the child's old enough, that is, I believe the child should pick because it's ultimately their lives that are going to be the complete change. They should be the person to dictate who they want to live with rather than government. Unless, maybe abuse, but that's about it.
I mean, okay, that kind of entails a question for me personally. Like, does it also imply, I mean, is this like a life decision on the same scale as sexual decisions? I mean, I'm almost referring to pedophilia in that way.
Wait, what?
What?
That like what the I don't know what the fuck that even what the fuck.
I don't even know what you're trying to ask.
I'm sorry. Might have been a hot take right there, but
Not as bad as Humane's hot takes.
Very true.
So repeat what you said. I missed it.
Okay, my thing is, do they have like the brain development for that kind of big decision in their life? That is what I'm trying to ask. Like, okay, yes, it is not a life decision of the same magnitude as sexuality. Thus is why we just flat out don't allow pedophilia. But
Right.
The thing is, I think if the child ends up regretting it, I think they should have the ability to maybe redo their decision, saying, "Okay, this was a bad idea. I'd rather live with this person," because honestly, I think it's the right thing to do. Of course, if they're old enough, that is.
Who said anything about pedophilia? Not you, Melissa. Not you. That was not the point that I was trying to make right there. Anyway.
I don't really get your point, Zach. I'm kind of like, what the hell?
Same.
Okay.
I know it's just somebody like JJ. It was you. You said that children should like be given the liberty to choose who they want to be in custody of, right?
Yes.
And I was trying to like ask. I mean, do they have like the mental development to be able to consent such a large decision? And then I was about.
That's actually I get your point now. Yes, that's actually a very good point. Yeah, actually, yeah, Jake.
I was fumbling over my words trying to make a point, but yeah, I mean, me trying to like bring up pedophilia.
That's why I said at a certain age.
I guess, yeah, but then again, at a certain age, they're adults, and then custody is not a factor.
Well, I'm talking about like 11 or 12, whenever they start to get it a little bit more like.
But even at that age, kids are fucking stupid. They make bad decisions.
That's why I said that if the child ends up regretting the decision, I think they should be able to go back and make change their opinion and their decision on that.
Yeah.
But then it still asks the question, like, do they have the mental development for that? I mean, I think I kind of bogged down and like just screwed up the conversation there by bringing up pedophilia as a
awkward.
When really,
yeah, that is a bad. I get the point you're trying to make, but I don't think it really worked. The point is, if the kids don't have the ability to consent to adult things, that's the point you were making, right?
Yes, exactly. But I mean, let's put a disclaimer right here for me to like try to clarify what I'm thinking. I mean, let me just clarify. Sexual decisions does not compare at all to freaking decisions on who you want to be the custody of.
If Owen hears this clip, he'll treat you just like Aspie.
Nobody is talking about transgenderism right here, so that's kind of a moot point.
Yeah, I mean, you got to be careful what you say on streams, because you say the wrong thing, you can get taken out of context. I'm actually kind of drinking right now, so I'll probably be off the stream before I get too wasted.
Smart idea.
Yeah. I mean, FYI, people, nobody is trying to accuse anybody of being a pedophile apologist or anywhere near that. Just anyway.
We'll just say Zach had a little bit of a brain fart there.
Also, I'm loving what I'm displaying on my screen.
Why the heck do you have that as a display of your screen, by the way?
An NPC Twitter bird?
Directless Trucker sent this to somebody. I saw it in my feed, and I thought it was fucking awesome.
That's actually funny to look at, to be honest.
Somebody has to explain me the NPC meme sometime, but not now, because we got a video that we are still not yet through. So
we're almost there, though.
And at the very least, is inefficient. Marriage, however, streamlines these processes. All right. So, and to that, I have to say, like quote Pendulette on that. It seems creepy for the government to be nosing in and who you're having sex with, don't you think?
Very.
To be, documentating and just knowing who you're having sex with. You guys like saw my response video to Michael Knowles. I featured that clip in that video, but yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
What do you guys have to say about that? Like, it seems like Melissa is arguing for the legalization of marriage and not getting government out of it, and that's really the first time that I ever heard anybody like outright argue for the government intervention in marriage.
Actually, yeah, that's the first time ever. Well, actually, yeah, I think it is like one of the very few times that I've heard it, if the first time.
Yeah.
Okay, what does that say? I'm trying to see. Oh, Dark Khan is gay. Screw you.
I am writing with the hand I don't write with, so that's why my handwriting is so bad.
Lonely Wolf said, "Hi, people. I'm spitting my coffee at my screen, looking at the twatter bird."
Alright, so anyway.
Answers. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. Also, be sure to...
I thought you were hit and miss, honestly, and I think that's all that we're going to say regarding that video. But what do you guys have to say in closing?
She made some decent points, but otherwise, I think she was.
I think
I'd say
yeah,
somewhat right, somewhat wrong.
I thought she was kind of off base with some of her points made at Julie Borowski. I'm not saying Julie Borowski isn't. I mean, I have my own problems with her, but nonetheless, I mean, me and Dark kind of sparred over what those problems are in the past anyway. But
yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Except in marriage, government isn't interested in your dick or vagina. They are interested in monetary and legal issues that inevitably result in two people getting married. What she says. Anyway, I don't know. I think I'm just
where'd you
gonna
see
leave it
that?
here.
It's in the live chat.
In the public chat here. I mean,
I
would prefer that if government just got completely out of marriage, but it's, in all honesty, is not one of the biggest issues of our time, in my opinion, whether or not we get government out of marriage, just as long as all forms of sexuality and marriage are represented equally. Maybe heterosexual marriage just has a little bit of an advantage. I don't know, just because of the fact that you can actually produce children with heterosexuality over homosexuality. But that's, yeah.
Yay!
Dark Khan is a homophobe.
Heterosexual is better than homosexual because we can make children. Ha!
I mean, I've said this before. Pretty much homosexual sex is a luxury. It is not an essential for life, whereas heterosexual sex is an essential for continuing life. But at the same time, that doesn't mean that just because sex in homosexuals' case is just a luxury, that doesn't mean that we should make it illegal still.
Well, it is kind of a necessity in the fact that intimate human contact is kind of necessary to prevent the body from shutting down.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
You can look at TL did a video about that a while back. When you're isolated, the body slowly starts to shut down.
Wasn't that the video about incels that you shared a little while back?
Yeah. It showed all this data. Ian Palanton did a video on the same subject. How the body responds to being isolated. So in a sense, in that way, it kind of would be essential for life.
Wait, would masturbation still count, or does it not?
No,
count?
because basically the human beings require the touch of other human beings.
Well, then I guess I'm kind of shutting down a bit.
unless you get your arm, unless you numb your arm, JJ, then it will feel like somebody else. Then I guess. I heard that joke.
I mean, you sit on your arm, make it go numb, then pretend.
I heard that joke off George Lopez. That was fucking awesome.
Yeah. Okay, so I only have 4 articles. Actually, I don't know. Maybe we'll subtract one of these articles because this episode is going way too long as it is.
And Zach knows something about long.
Anyway,
yeah, that 16-inch zucchini.
Wait, what? What about 16-inch?
You don't recall the one live stream that can never mind. Inside joke. I'll let you watch back on a past episode of Dark Cancer for you to get the reference. But anyway, okay. So now you get the joke. Thank you. Okay. But Melissa Karlee says there's an evolutionary purpose to homosexuality in humans. Zio Gold says Black Pigeon speaks once gays to go back in the closet. Ew. Okay, yeah, well, then in that case, I'm turned off by the guy, assuming that is true, Zia Gold. Melissa Karlee also says, I know it sounds counterintuitive, but so many things are regarding human behavior. But basically, the homosexual evolutionary aspect regards domestic duties and male strength. All right.
Well,
So anyway,
there is an evolutionary reason why homosexuals exist. I think it's because of certain males having certain characteristics that are feminine or can actually be advantageous in a lot of cases. And if those characteristics do lead to homosexuality in a very small number of individuals, it still could be an overall benefit to the population. So there is an evolutionary reason behind it. It's kind of complicated.
Sounds like an interesting conversation, but it would be a conversation for another time. Anyway, on to the news. October 11th, 2018, this by the Washington Examiner. Washington becomes 20th states to get rid of death penalty. By Maria Byrie. And so we'll try to review this news as objectively as possible. Anyway, close that down. The Washington State Supreme Court struck down the death penalty on what
Oof.
Okay. I think a virus or something might have attempted to get on my computer through that. I don't know. Let's
don't trust the internet.
Okay, where was it? Oh yeah, here's a link. Let's try it again, perhaps. I don't know. Maybe I should not be so reliant on Washington Examiner as much. I mean, I noticed that they have all these ads.
That's why you just quickly exit out of those.
Right.
You know, from experience.
You definitely know.
Okay.
You definitely know about viruses, JJ.
Okay. Continuing on, the Washington State Supreme Court struck down the death penalty on Thursday after declaring in a court ruling that capital punishment is imposed in an arbitrary and racially biased manner.
Oh my gosh!
I don't even like the death. I don't even approve of the death penalty, but that's complete bullshit.
It's retarded.
So now
people are executed for, well, at least allegedly committing crimes, okay?
So,
I know there's a small number of innocent convictions, but they're executed for committing crimes, not for being of a certain race. It's bullshit.
They're not killing Asians at such an exponential rate just because they're Asian.
Also, it's so now this makes it 3/5 of the United States have capital punishment. Although I would say it like this: so they just struck down So this was the Washington Supreme Court. So this decision, unless they reverse it or unless the state tries to reinstate it, then yeah, the death penalty is done for Washington State.
Here's my thought on the death penalty. Somebody was making the claim on a past episode of Strike Force. I was reading how somebody was making the claim that the death penalty is biased towards black people, but then there was this one bias towards black people regarding the drug war, I think is what it was trying to connect. But then there was this one study, this one paper. I have to do a Strike Force editorial reading that article, trying to translate it. But anyway,
wasn't CB talking about how it was racially motivated?
I mean, if you look at the statements of the Nixon administration regarding black people and the anti-war left,
well, I think
then I don't think it's too far. I don't think it's that far fetched.
I mean, it was racially charged back in the day, but now, no.
Nowadays, I would have to. I would tread lightly on that.
Very lightly.
The Charles Road in the chat says the death penalty should be replaced with exile to Antarctica.
Exile them to the United Kingdom and have them all be wearing, have them all do Nazi salutes so they get arrested.
Okay. But yeah, anyway, so the paper that was talking about the arrest rate between the races of blacks versus whites in the drug war, it was stating that the stats do not take into account the people who were already arrested. They were only taking into account the people that were being arrested in present tense, but wasn't taken into account past tense of arrests. So it's a little bit of a complicated subject, and like I said, I have to do a Strike Force editorial reading in depth into the paper. Zia Gold asks, how do you feel about people like Turd Flinging Monkey and Panoid? PNOID.
I think I've only ever watched one video by Turd Flame Monkey, and I was like, okay, whatever.
Saying that all the problems in the West will be fixed by taking women's rights away. What?
I guess he really is throwing shit.
Turd flinging. Okay, I don't know about turd flinging monkey. A monkey. I mean, I know that angry MGTOW was something of that type of philosophy,
Yeah,
and
he actually wanted. He thought people should keep women as sex slaves. He actually argued that.
Oh god.
So, in other words, he's a sick fuck that deserves a good punch to the face.
He's a pretty sick fuck. What happened to him anyway?
I think he just got kicked off the YouTube, I believe.
Well, deleted his channel or something. I don't know. But yeah, he got like I think at least 2 or at least 1 response video done by Mr. Dapperton, and Mr. Dapperton said, "I have no problem overall with the MGTOW community. I mean, turd flinging monkey. I love that guy," as he explains. So I don't know about turd flinging monkey actually advocating for taking away women's rights, because if he did, I would think that Mr. Dapperton, a guy who criticized angry MGTOW, would also be against turd flinging monkey.
I mean, from what I read about turd flinging monkey, I mean, he definitely seemed to like call out women on their bullshit, and that I'm all for doing. I've done it myself many, many times, but I haven't seen him saying that women should have their rights taken away. But then again, I think I only watched one of his videos a while back.
I don't know much about the guy. I only know about him through Mr. Dapperton. Anyway, this makes Washington sorry, what?
I just want to say, S-Man, that picture's perfect.
Zio Gold says that Angry MGTOW is still on YouTube. Oh.
Well, I guess his account is, but...
Oh, yeah, I remember. He changed his
Angry
channel
Madman.
name. He opened a new one called Angry Madman.
But I checked the channel. I cannot see subscribers, and all the videos are gone.
Oh, shit. But I remember he was the guy that tried... The worst thing he ever did, though, was when he like, tried to get Jeff Holliday's kid taken away. Such a disgusting thing to do.
What the fuck?
Yeah, he tried to like lie that Jeff Holiday was like some kind of drug addict, was an unfit dad, tried to like call child services to try to get his kid taken away.
What a sick fuck.
Yeah, oh yeah, he's an absolute bastard. Like I could sympathize with the guy because he obviously has mental issues, and I'm sympathetic to people with mental health issues. I always try to be, but goddamn, that is such a disgusting thing to do.
I can't be sympathetic towards such a scumbag.
It's really hard to be sympathetic when he does something that despicable. It really is.
So, this makes Washington the 20th state to get rid of the death penalty. The use of the death penalty is unequally applied, sometimes by where the crime took place, or the county of residence, or the available budgetary resources at any given point in time, or the race of the defendant. Chief Justice Mary Fairhurst said in the opinion, or the race of the defendant. Are you saying that people like trying to push for the death penalty on a given suspect are all like, yes, let's kill this guy because he's black or something like that? I don't know.
I mean, with how a lot of liberals are, I'm not saying all of them, I'm just saying a lot of them, it doesn't seem that far from the truth that they probably say that.
All right. She also wrote, the death penalty as administered in our state fails to serve any legitimate penological goal. Thus, it violates Article 1, Section 14 of our state constitution. Oh, what do you mean? Like you don't have any murderers or anything like that? They are still protected by Article 1, Section 4 of your state constitution? Like, I don't know the state constitution of Washington. Let's keep that in mind. But what, even they are protected by that? I don't know.
Seems a bit backwards.
Yeah. In 2014, Governor Jay Inslee, whatever, declared a moratorium on the death penalty, saying that it was clear to him that the use of capital punishment is inconsistent and unequal. This is a hugely important moment in our pursuit for equal and fair application of justice.
We should be killing people equally.
Yes.
Kill all the white people, black people, and Mexicans.
Yeah,
I will throw tacos.
The idea of equality, yeah, like that statement is kind of funny when you consider what we're talking about here.
I mean, are they wanting to kill the suspect because they're black, or they want to kill a suspect because they're a murderer or a shooter, and the person just coincidentally happens to be black, because you're taking crime statistics into consideration, like it's overrepresented by black people.
Well, because a lot of them are in a bad area and they end up doing bad things because they're in the bad area.
So that's where I guess the whole racial injustice confusion is.
Yeah, seems like
But this person is not mentioning any stats, so it's kind of easy to just brush off what all they're saying. Inslee declared in a statement on the ruling Thursday, the decision was for the case of Alan Eugene Gregory, who was convicted of the rape, robbery, and murder of Janine Harshfield in 1996. Yep, kill him. The court was unanimous in its decision Thursday, and everyone on death row will now have their sentence converted to life imprisonment.
Oh yeah, so pay for the guy for the rest of his life, knowing that he's guilty, and still letting him live and have shelter and have food.
Well, right. I mean, there's still I don't know.
And we're using the taxpayers' money for that shit too, so we're paying for him.
I see what you're saying, but to play devil's advocate, people make the case that it's actually more expensive to carry out the death penalty on a murderer than to just give him life in prison.
Well, maybe with lethal injections, yeah, but with bullets aren't that expensive at all.
That's not where most of the cost comes from. The cost comes from the fact that if somebody gets the death penalty, they're allowed multiple appeals in court. Whereas if somebody whereas oftentimes they can waive the right to appeal in exchange for life in prison. That's why oftentimes the death penalty is more expensive.
And the appeals brings in more court cases, more court
not because
sessions.
injecting somebody with poison is inherently really expensive. It's not.
Right. I'm not that experienced in that sort of areas, so that's why I said that.
I didn't really think that was necessarily where most of the cost was, but all these appeals would create more court sessions for people to attend to and be paid for, is what you're trying to say, right? Loudmouth?
What's that?
I mean, all these appeals that a death row inmate would be polling, that would cause for there to be more court sessions that people would have to come to and be paid
Correct.
for, right?
That's where most of the cost comes from.
Right.
Oh. Ugh.
So that makes sense. I mean, I would have to actually do some research into that area to see of how it would be cheaper, but I'm not a lawyer or a legislator, so I would not know exactly.
I think it'd be sort of a trial and error sort of thing, see which one works best. I don't know.
Oh boy, trial and error. Then you have a whole bunch of innocent dead bodies in the way.
Not talking about the killing though.
Okay. Exile to Antarctica is more cheap and nature take care of the rest. Says Charles Rode in the chat.
Penguins don't deserve that.
Kill all the penguins because they're birds.
Hey, I like the penguins. You harm the penguins and you're picking a fight.
Birds are evil. Just remember that.
No, they're the descendants of the mighty dinosaurs. They're awesome.
Amnesty International, which opposes the death penalty unconditionally, celebrated the ruling. This is tremendous news for all who fought to abolish the death penalty in Washington. Now that Washington has become the 20th state to end this cruel, inhuman, and degrading punishment, but was the person having the death penalty, were they cruel, inhuman, and were they degrading as well? Other states should follow suit, said Christina Roth, senior program officer at Amnesty International USA. The court did note a caveat in the opinion. We leave open the possibility that the legislature may enact a carefully drafted statute to impose capital punishment in this state, but it cannot create a system that offends constitutional rights, it said. There's a global trend toward abolishing the death penalty, with only 4 countries responsible for 84% of executions, according to 2017 data. Yeah, I don't believe in appeal to popularity or, ad populum, so that's kind of moot and irrelevant to me.
Ad populum fallacy, stupid.
Yes. The U.S. had 23 executions in 8 states in 2017. Texas had the most with a total of 7, which accounted for 30% of the national total. Excuse me.
Hmm.
All right. So How long is this article? I mean, we've been going on for quite a while. Okay, it's not that while. It's not that long. And maybe we'll just like skip this article and just go to the Crimea story right after that.
Yeah, let's just do the Crimea story.
Anyway, Russia's plans. See you later, Restman. Damn it! I wish he would say something before he goes more. Anyway, Russia's plans to deter Israeli airstrikes in Syria could backfire. Highlights. Russia will bolster the Syrian air defense network in the wake of the accidental loss of its IL-20 surveillance plane in Syria. Its measures to enhance Syria's air defenses will not stop Israel from conducting further airstrikes in the country. And Israel's insistence on continuing to stage attacks in Syria, combined with Russia's increasing efforts to prevent it from doing so, will improve the chances of the Syrian civil war escalating into a larger conflict.
Oh, God.
Oh, boy. Russia is trying to avoid disaster in Syria. Sure. After a Syrian surface-to-air missile battery accidentally shot down a Russian surveillance plane September 17th while responding to an Israeli attack, Moscow is moving to secure Syria's airspace as expected. Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu announced September 24th that his country would increase its support for Syria's air defense network in hopes of preventing future accidents and ill-considered actions by hotheads, namely Israel. I don't see how you need your influence kept up in the Middle East, Russia, so nose out, butt out, I say. But Russia's actions won't stop Israel from carrying out airstrikes against Iranian assets in Syria. In fact, they may raise the risk of an escalation between Iran and Israel. There's a lot going on in the chat, but it's going too fast-paced, and I'm just going to continue on with this article because of time constraints. And I'm just getting tired in this episode right now. The big picture. Stratfor's 2018 fourth quarter forecast noted that Russia would strive to contain Israel's actions against Iran and Syria to avoid a bigger conflict. Since Syrian forces accidentally shot down a Russian plane September 17, an incident for which Damascus blames Israel, Russia is hard at work trying to minimize the risk of regional escalation through efforts such as improving Syria's air defense network. Its attempts to deter further Israeli airstrikes will fail. However, and its reinforcements for the Syrian air defense network could just as easily aggravate the conflict. I mean, I don't see as to how Russia has an interest in the Middle East and thus not in Syria. I mean, how they don't have a moral or ethical interest in Syria, at least. But on the same token, I don't see of how Israel has necessarily an interest in Syria. Like Palestine, that's a different story because they're obviously attacking Israel. But Syria, are they doing the same? I don't get it. I mean, LOLbertarian, what do you think? Do you hear anything about Syria attacking Israel?
I doubt Syria would try that shit. They get their ass kicked just like the last time they tried that.
Yeah, they would.
All right, and so
Israel will wipe the floor with them.
Right.
Israel's a nuclear power.
And so on that note, I don't see how Israel has like an interest in Syria to have a fight in this. I mean, it works both ways, I think. Shoigu outlined a three-part plan for beefing up Syria's air defense. First, Russia will deliver S-300 long-range surface-to-air missile systems to the Syrian forces, which currently rely on the obsolete S-200 system for long-range air defense. Next, it will work to improve the Syrian air defense network's command and control functions to better detect targets and to properly identify Russian aircraft. Finally, Russia will step up its use of electronic countermeasures, such as jamming devices to interfere with Israeli combat aircraft going after targets in Syria. These steps will doubtless make it harder for Israel to carry out future airstrikes in Syria, but they won't stop the attacks. Again, what interest do you have in Syria, Israel? Using tactics like standoff missile attacks and deploying its new F-35 stealth fighter jets, Israel can mitigate the increased risk to its pilots. The country, in fact, has already announced its plans to continue striking at Iranian and Hezbollah targets in Syria.
They see them as a threat. I guess I can see their perspective.
Hopefully.
I'm not seeing anything implied or said in this article as to how Syria is like a viable threat to Israel or how they're actively attacking Israel.
Well, they do often smuggle weapons to various Palestinian terrorist groups.
Oh,
and Hezbollah has
shit.
definitely committed terrorist attacks in Israel.
Okay, that makes sense then. I mean, assuming that's true, then it would make sense that Israel would throw some airstrikes towards Syria. I mean, if they're supplying like their own enemies, but at the same time, is it wise? Is it worth the risk of pissing off Russia and just having a whole world war surrounding the Middle East, primarily? I don't know. Anyway, as Israel digs in, the danger now lies in the heightened threat of confrontation between its forces and Russian troops in Syria. Greater involvement in Syria's air defense network will afford Moscow more control over Syrian air defense operations to help minimize the risk of accidentally targeting friendly, neutral, or civilian aircraft. But it will also put more Russian personnel on the firing line between Israel and Syria. Israel has made clear that it will not hesitate to fire on surface-to-air missile batteries that engage its aircraft, depending on how involved Russian personnel become with the Syrian air defense network. That threat could extend to them. Okay.
Right, that's a big thing, is that Bashar Assad regime in Syria, they've offered Russia various bases, and Russia is very protective of them.
All right. And I just got to announce to the chat, I'm only going to like read the chat if it's like relevant to the current news that I am reading right now. I mean, I'm not going to go off on the tangents of overpopulation or turd flinging monkey or anything like that. Okay, I think I just finished that paragraph, so moving down to here. Even if Russia manages to avoid casualties in future confrontations between the Syrian air defense network and Israeli aircraft, it could still suffer serious embarrassment. Israel could unleash a barrage of cruise missiles or anti-radiation missiles to knock out the S-300 air defense batteries that Russia... excuse me, bit of gas there. Batteries that Russia is planning to give Syria. That would reflect poorly on Moscow, which has long touted the capabilities of its air defense systems, a prominent part of many of Russia's lucrative arms export deals. And short of overwhelming the S-300, Israel could undermine its reputation merely by continuing its airstrikes despite the system's presence in Syria. By the same token, the new F-35s could lose their sheen if shot down. Sheen? S-H-E-E-N.
So why would you care about the look?
I don't know. Oh, loser sheen. Okay. I guess the sheen is something to do with the physical look, JJ?
I think, yeah, I'm pretty sure. Hold on. How do you spell it?
S-H-E-E-N. Like Charlie Sheen.
Oh, so like that. I looked up Sheen and literally Charlie Sheen just popped up. Oh my god. Okay,
Sheen.
so Merriam-Webster, archaic, a definition of Sheen, archaic, beautiful, shining, resplendent.
Oh god, yeah.
So
like
it's only
this,
about the aesthetics.
Yeah, who cares about the aesthetics? No weapon is invulnerable. A less likely, though dangerous, possibility is that Russia will decide to ensure the success of its announced deterrence measures by operating its own air defense system against Israel. Russia's attempts to prevent a larger conflict in Syria may well have the opposite effect. By threatening to thwart Israeli airstrikes, Moscow will only raise the risk that Syria's civil war will turn into a regional one. Okay. That's the end of that article, and we will move on to the next one. And by the way, Loudmouth, I've been meaning to do this for a while, but ever since there's some that you said last Sunday regarding overpopulation and large families. Like, I've been meaning to like send you a video of mine talking about overpopulation, but yeah, just heads up on that. You don't mind if I send you like a video on DMs, do you?
Send shit away. That's cool. What's your opinion on it?
On overpopulation? Well, I think it's just to put it basically, I think it's slightly over-exaggerated, but I definitely don't think that people's individual rights should be taken it should be overruled just because of that. Anyway, 19 killed, 53 wounded in school shooting in Crimea. This was a story
At
that
least
I
it's not
think
America this time.
This is a very short article, but didn't you mention this, Loudmouth?
No, I'm not saying it's good. I'm just saying at least it's not all over the news. Like,
so,
you know what? I'm just gonna shut the fuck up because yeah, I realize it's just like fuck, but I'm just saying.
Yeah, that was a dick thing to say, dude.
Yeah, I will say I was a dick on that part, but I'm just
Okay.
Well, on the point of comparing countries, though, the U.S. has more of a prominent gun culture. In Crimea, not so much. I mean, it does not make it any better, but on the case of gun rights, if it did happen in the United States, then people could take advantage of it and say, oh, this is why that we need to ban guns or heavily regulate guns. But
wait, what is like the guns for Crimea? Like, how many guns are like in Crimea, like per person or something like that?
I don't know. I mean, I would doubt that there is like at least as prominent of a gun culture comparatively to the United States. I mean, people bring up Switzerland for having a comparative gun culture to the United States per 100,000 people, but at the same time, their crime is a whole lot lower. So anyway, that's a little bit of a side tangent, but anyway, I think it was you who like mentioned this Loudmouth at one point, and so you kind of interested me and wanted to search this up.
Wow, that is a lot of dead and a lot of wounded.
Yeah, it's horrific.
Yeah, it is.
More than any of the recent school shooting that I can think of.
Wait, what was the Stoneman Douglas fatality number? Like maybe like 6 or 7?
I don't know exactly. I mean, I think it was more closer to a dozen than it was around 20.
But we're told that these don't happen in other countries by leftists all the time. This only happens in America.
Zeo Gold says gun grabbers are dumber than flat earthers. Okay, I would not go so far to say that, Zeo Gold, but yes, I think that gun grabbers are... Okay, I don't want to generalize, but typically I don't see... I have not met a gun grabber yet that has not said something totally smart for their position. I'll just put it that way.
Yeah.
Although I will say this, typically I hear the logic, there's no reason for you to own a gun, which that is utterly stupid right there. Self-defense, not just hunting. Self-defense, hunting, and resistance against a tyrannical government. Doesn't mean that the resistance will be successful, but just still,
it's worth a try.
Yeah, exactly. I would rather go down fighting against the government than just surrendering to them outright, even if I do die ultimately in that fight. But again, I think that comment was a little bit unfair to gun grabbers, Zeo Gold, just a little bit.
Yeah.
To play devil's advocate. Okay, at least 19. Anyway, get on with this news. Getting on with the news. At least 19 students were killed and 53 wounded in a shooting at a vocational school in Crimea on Wednesday. Dang. Of the wounded, 12 are in serious condition. Police say the suspect, 18-year-old Vladislav Razialkov, killed himself inside the Kerch Polytechnic College library. Okay, what is up with that? Why is it that so many killers nowadays internationally are so freaking young?
Because I guess younger people are generally more stupid than older people, I'm guessing.
I mean, especially with the ones that end up making headlines nationally or even internationally in this case.
I have no idea. Maybe they have like hidden like mental issues, and yet nobody has diagnosed them as with older people. I don't know.
Gun grabbers think that incendiary rounds are heat-seeking bullets. Gold says, "Yeah, I mean that I can just say right off the bat that is pretty stupid because." When I hear incendiary round, I don't think of a heat seeker. I think of like a round that burns you, basically.
Or bursts into flames or something like that.
Yeah, in some form or another, it burns you on contact.
Yeah.
That's what I think. I mean, that's just common sense. I mean, that should be like basic bitch information right there, in my opinion.
I will say people that think
is
that
pretty dumb, Zeo Gold.
You're pretty dumb if you believe that.
Yeah. Ignorant more than stupid, just FYI. Anyway, he was described as a shy loner, as too many of these shooters turn out to be. The Associated...
Yeah, it's always that's the thing when they do that. They always nobody questions like all the bullying that goes into all this shit. It's always ignored.
It actually kind of reminds me that one. It's a sad story, but I think it was also caught on camera. Somebody bullied like this kid, I believe in like Russia. They taped him up, and then he ended up like landing like right on the corner of a desk and dying because of it.
Damn.
Psychopaths, man.
Yeah.
Okay, I just getting kind of annoyed at this ad, but I don't know. Anyway, the Associated Press reports, and local officials said he just recently was granted a permit to own a shotgun and only a few days ago purchased 150 cartridges. Okay, so there is a little bit of a gun culture. It might not be prominent, but they at least have somewhat of gun rights there.
150 cartridges. Damn.
Yep. Sergei Aksionov, regional leader of Crimea, said Rozlyakov was walking around and shooting students and teachers in cold blood.
So he just pulled out his shotgun and just started firing?
I don't know. I guess he was just being an on-wanderer as he was strapping heat, and then he just thought, I don't like you, bam. I don't like you either, bam.
I wonder if he just shot indiscriminately or if he was targeting certain people.
If he was shooting indiscriminately, I would say in a way that's even more fucked.
It is more fucked because you're just shooting people. You're not just going after certain people.
I mean, it's one thing if you were to kill somebody out of jealousy because they like stole your girlfriend or something. I mean, it's pretty fucked up and you should not do that. But at the same time, it's still a little bit more understandable than somebody just shooting somebody just because they like real life violence. Yeah. So
no parents and no overprotective parents. This isn't because of Grand Theft Auto.
Yes, and just FYI, this is not an advocacy for killing like the people that you are jealous of. I'm just trying to like examine the psychology of somebody who wants to go on shooting.
Talk out your problems. Don't actually go around murdering people.
Exactly. But if you, anyway, there was confusion. I mean, if you just like violence for the sake of violence, well, then at that point, there's absolutely no hope for you, and you should probably be put in hospice or something. Anyway, there was confusion throughout the day without, there was confusion throughout the day with Russian President Vladimir Putin saying at one point the victims all died in an explosion. At the same time, Russia's investigative committee said the students were all shot. Explosive devices were found on campus. In 2014, Russia annexed the Crimean Peninsula from Ukraine, and this is Russia's greatest loss of life in an act of school violence since the 3-day school siege in Beslan in 2004, which left 333 people dead.
Holy shit.
Oh, God.
333 people dying from a 3-day scourge in Beslan?
But I think that's an L. Beslan. Or Beslan. Beslan, however you pronounce it. But yeah.
But seriously. I mean, sure, it's not on the magnitude of the 333 people dying, but still a huge loss.
Yeah.
And 12 are in critical condition. So let's say, hypothetically, those people died. The number would skyrocket to 31 dead.
All right. So any closing words on the news or anything like that? You guys, I'm thinking of ending this episode soon.
Well, I'm going to say sorry about that thing that I said earlier. My bad.
It's fine, dude. It just didn't. It came out bad, but you didn't mean anything malicious.
No, of course not. I'm not a fucking psychopath.
Hey,
I think you're a good guy, JJ. It's fine. You just kind of don't think before you talk sometimes.
Yeah, that's something I need to work on. But yeah.
It didn't come off as bad, at least as my comment on bringing up pedophilia in the conversation of whether.
Yeah, that was also kind of bad. I'm glad that.
Yeah.
I'm glad if somebody if some bigger YouTuber wants to make fun of us for this stream, it probably won't be me this time. Focus on.
Oh, God.
Even though
That's
I've
real
only had one
supportive
drink.
of you, loudmouth. It's real supportive.
I mean, I'll get more exposure, so yay.
Yay, more exposure. Yeah. Honestly, it isn't even worth it. The drama is just not worth the added exposure.
Yeah, it is true.
Yeah.
But like some of these, it's like sometimes when things go to shit.
Oh, S-Man's back.
I don't know. I thought, in my personal opinion, that the drama with Baron was worth that kind of exposure. I mean, it helped accelerate my channel even more so.
Right. That's one example. There's others. I mean, I'm sure. It's not really that unique as far as the internet goes.
Right.
Welcome back, S-Man.
Yeah.
At least we're on good terms. I'm on good terms with the guy, but if he ever finds out about that sleazy affair I had with Sugar Tits, oh man, he's gonna be super pissed. Sorry, got my head in the gutter. What can I do?
How many drinks have you had, Loudmouth?
Just one. I'm not drunk yet, but I still make dirty jokes.
You say yet.
As long as you're not as drunk as the one time that Baron took you out of context on.
Well, I'm not even close to that drunk yet, but I probably will be later.
I'm sorry. I just love.
I drink my problems away sometimes because I got depression.
I just love referencing back to that clip because it makes you so freaking salty.
Saltier than the chips I'm having right now. That's actually why I left, just to go get some chips.
Oh,
yes, everyone needs chips.
That was a long chip break, man.
Well, also, I was just like, well, fuck it. You know, I probably should not, like, just be in the hangout. If I'm not going to do anything there, then I should just go. And then I got stuck talking to one of the neighbors, so.
Oh.
Okay. Makes more sense.
But just like, FYI, you always do something when you're on these streams, like make a sarcastic jab or witty jab at someone else's expense, or comment on the news in a rather objective-minded way.
Or I do these really, really painful reactions. Loudmouth literally saw me die. Fuck you, Crusader. Loudmouth
man is a Niger, says Crusader.
Holy shit, Crusader. Are you spying on me? God damn.
It's not my fault that you're from Niger.
But Loudmouth literally saw me dying on a stream yesterday.
I didn't literally see you dying on a stream because you're still alive. That's not literal.
Well, he saw me laughing my head off.
Yes, you figuratively were dying of laughter, not literally.
He was only slightly dying.
Perish of thought.
Well, shut up, Loudmouth. I'm kidding. But nonetheless, it was oh my god, it was just pretty damn funny. I did not anticipate to laugh like that. Like, my friend from Facebook, she literally messages me. She's like, "What the hell, dude? I saw your video. Like, what the hell is that?" And I'm like, "It's a long story. It's a long story."
I would have just said, "You don't want to know."
By the way, I gotta say that the one big reason as to why that life is not as cringy as the one life I was referencing to when I said go tell Owen to shut up and eat fried chicken and watermelon. The reason why I said that this recent life wasn't as cringy was because it sounded a whole lot more manly.
Yeah, fair enough.
Just saying.
Well, I mean,
that as little childish.
And when did that life happen? Like 2 years ago, back when he was 15.
What the fuck? No, it was not. It was in July of 17. I didn't even know you people.
Well,
1 in 3 months.
Okay.
1 year, 3 months.
I thought I remembered it being longer than that. Oh well.
I thought it was in 2016 or something like that.
Also, my laugh wasn't that high pitched. I mean, for fuck's sake, come on. Come on.
Okay. So.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
By the way, S-Man, I will be appropriating your culture tonight. I'm having enchiladas.
Go fuck yourself. Como se dice go fuck yourself?
Como se dice go fuck yourself with an enchilada?
So Ham has officially scarred me for life, and now I'm a fucking vegan. Great.
Wait, what? Why?
He posted a Twitter link. He posted a link to a Twitter video where this dude literally... This is what it reads. Man came home and caught his wife having sex with another man. He cut the man's head off and turned himself into the police holding the fucker's head.
Nice.
What the fuck?
I'm looking at at the video right now. I am.
One minute you're an ordinary guy, the next minute you're Michael Myers.
One minute you're sleeping with the
Okay, I'm gonna be sick.
wife and
I
the
need to
husband.
close that. Oh my god. I think I'm gonna actually be sick.
Or even worse, 1 minute you're having sex with a woman, next minute your head's cut off and the guy's holding your head around.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, that.
I know. It's almost like that time I slept with Steve Shives' wife. He busted in angry, but then he was like, "Am I allowed to watch?" And I'm like, "Yes, you're allowed to watch."
Charles Rhodes said in the chat, "Eta al carjero con una enchilada."
Dirty jokes.
I just saw the picture that you shared me, yes, man, and I'm going to screen share this. No, it is not dirty, in case anybody is wondering. But
So it's not your Blair White pictures. Got it.
shut the fuck up.
Did you just call me yes, man?
Anyway.
Oh, that was brutal.
So anyway.
Oh yeah, I saw that picture in the meme section of S-Manism.
Yeah, you like see you see the shop owner on the left. He's for free trade, and he has like a healthy amount of goods and all these customers flocking. But the protectionist shop owner, or the shop owner that is having protectionism influencing his business imposed on him, has a low stock and very low, if any, customers. Yeah. Anyway.
I'd rather go to the free trade shop.
Yes.
Melissa is in the Discord server now.
Yeah.
Your Discord server?
Yep.
Okay.
Wait,
she's talking about the video.
Z Gold says, please tell me that's an Onion article. What article? What?
What do you mean? Oh,
it's in the.
No, the video I'm talking about. No, it's real. Surprised that's even allowed on Twitter, but whatever.
Then again, actually, have I seen anything that bad on Twitter before I got kicked off?
The worst thing I saw was someone impersonating Donald Trump naked. I almost threw my phone at the wall. I threw my phone at the wall.
If anybody sends me that, I will personally find where you live and beat you with Amy Schumer's pussy.
The fish. That just so everybody knows, if you ever tweet hentai at me, I will personally flag your Twitter out of existence.
It's true. I sent it to him once, and he was tempted to do so.
Yeah, I actually blocked him for like about a day or so because he did that. I was like, oh god.
Worth it.
All right. So, do you guys have anything to say in closing of this?
The guy that shot.
Free trade, I prefer over protectionism. Ham is when people shit on liberals, but they never shit on blue collar liberals. Twitter thinking emoji. That's all I have to say.
Jesus died in vain.
Yeah.
S-Manism is a great ideology. S-Manism for the win.
We're all going to hell, and the guy that shot up that Crimean school is probably there as well.
Yep.
All right. So, I'm about to leave. This has been an exhausting episode, honestly, because we kept on taking a meander on response to that video, but we finally got it done and covered some of the news. We will be back tomorrow afternoon to read about Elon Musk helping out Flint, Michigan's water crisis situation. So that should be interesting. But anyway, I'm the Dark Conservatarian. These are my co-hosts, Loudmouth Reviews, S-Man Speaks, and The Crusader. We will all see you tomorrow. See you later, and God bless. And no, Jesus did not, Loudmouth. Bye, everyone.